that on this here.
They're going to close all the bars. That means all the liquor stores are going to get hit.
Hi there, this is Jim the Keys bartender coming to you from Key Largo. This is a live show, St. Patrick's Day. And yeah, it is St. Patrick's Day. A lot of people didn't realize Jenna's over here. She a lot of people have been having rough days. But if someone brought up that COVID-19, once you sing it to the song, it's appropriate for St. Patrick's Day. COVID-19, like, come on, Eileen. Think about it. You can't forget about it then. COVID-19, oh, I can tell by your scream, or no. How's that Come On Eileen song would be, Papa Joe? You know how
just Come On Eileen.
COVID-19.
Oh, COVID-19.
Yes. Yes. And we realize it's not like the Irma show. That was several years ago, and that was unique to South Florida, Central Florida. But this is worldwide. I realize that. We're just talking about our unique experiences here in the Keys. We're being an island chain connected to the mainland, much like I think it was a couple weeks ago when people started suggesting that they should shut down the stretch. And they thought that was crazy. I thought that was a crazy idea originally. I did. I thought that was insane. What are you, insane? Shutting down the Keys?
You think it's insane now?
No, I don't think it's insane now. That's it. It's weird how things change so quickly down here. And it's not because I dislike people or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. It's just things are moving so quickly. In New York City today, they just had like 1,000 new cases in a day, and the mayor and everyone is just, they're furious. They said the people are just walking around doing whatever they want. Again, it's just exploding the cases as they test, and they're not testing everyone, so they can only imagine how it's growing. So they're ready to do a total self quarantine of New York. You're saying you got to stay in. You can only go out, to the store, in Madrid, in Spain. I think in Spain and Italy, you can walk your dog. I think you're allowed to go out and walk your dog.
And you can go shopping.
You can go shopping. That's pretty much it. This is worldwide, but we are in the Keys, and we're not an indoor culture down here. It's worse as it gets. It's like you've heard our cold. If you're regular listeners, you've heard our cold weather episodes, and that's when it's 60 degrees down here, and we're still outside. Not as much though. People stay inside then, but this time of year they're outside, so we're not cloistered in small groups and things like that. But there are some places. What happened recently? And this is Key specific. I'm sure there's things in your state. So, like I know in Michigan and Ohio, they closed all the restaurant and bars. But it's the way it started with us is first the kids started going on break, spring break. And this before there were like a couple cases in Florida. And then they started extending the spring break another week.
Right, because they wanted to close the schools.
To close the schools, yeah. Just keep those down. And then they started setting up testing facilities and things like that. And it just started moving, especially in Florida. It wasn't like Washington State. But then Florida started picking up. And then you see how other countries, Italy, started, the cases explode there. I don't know if China is reporting it accurately where they are. Supposedly they have it under control, but then they have the resources to be able to require people, compel people. Because when someone in China, a Chinese official says you got to stay inside, this is martial law. We will be very strict with you. In China they're not fucking kidding.
No, but look how South Korea dealt with it. They don't have martial law. They just have an infrastructure that's set up for these types of disasters.
and I know you've been in South Korea too. You have a unique perspective. But my perspective with South Korea, they've also sat under the shadow of war for the last 70 years.
Exactly.
And they are very strict. And when the government tells them to do something,
they do it.
They do it.
As a group.
Yeah.
They do it. It's their culture.
Yeah.
They do it as a group. The other one,
yeah.
Japan, same thing. But their infrastructure is set up differently.
Yeah, in Japan, Tokyo and all that. You figure Tokyo, it'd be all over the place in Tokyo. 20 million people. It's crazy. Crazy. I mean, the next ones, I think, is going to be Mexico City, obviously Cairo, Alexandria, Mumbai. They're smart enough to handle it, but they don't have the infrastructure to handle it and stuff like that. But yeah, the Japanese, the Koreans, Australia seems to have. It's a big ass country though with 30 million people in there, and but Canada, a big ass country. Well, most of their people live near that border with the United States, right? They got proportionally the same amount of cases we do. You thought the Canadians would be able to handle a little better, but then again, I don't listen to a lot of Canadian news, so I don't know what they're doing.
I have no idea.
Yeah, but this is a worldwide event, and in the Keys, just today, they shut down the bars and the clubs in all Florida at around noon today. In the middle of spring break, they shut down all the bars and the clubs, and we're now in effect. We're even though in the Keys they're saying that tourists are still welcome, but we're
but there's no bars,
shutting down
and it's limited restaurants,
limited
patronage in restaurants. They kind of put the screws on that a little bit.
I don't know what they're attempting to do with these. It's kind of and I am a selfish bastard, but I understand for the greater good. It's going to suck if my owner hears this and stuff like that. That's a half measure. Leaving it open, leaving bars and restaurants. Leaving restaurants open.
Yeah, look, given profit margins for food service,
mm-hmm.
they're not that great. They're not that high. So you affect any amount. That's critical for a bar, a restaurant, or anyone in the service industry. Less people come in.
I think pretty much you're going to have fast food. You're going to be relegating people to Wendy's, McDonald's.
You're going to cause restaurants to go into this
pizza shop,
pickup and delivery. I mean, that might be the only way they survive.
There's no way surviving on that, man. I'll tell you that.
It's that or what?
Nothing. I know. But money wise, like we had a whole show talking about the margins on a restaurant. Delivery of food just takes away that.
Oh, absolutely. But
especially once you start doing it, and then you get these people. Hey, I don't care if it's a fucking pandemic. I don't like the way this sauce tastes. Take it back. That's. Once you do that, you lost money on. Once you had to return and remake an order, you lost money on the next 6 orders. Meaning, not only that profit, everything you made is gone, and then it slows everything down. It eats away what that narrow profit you would have made on the next 6 ones, and if it slows it down even more, it's just like it's a recipe for disaster with the type of food that's delivered. Because, as I said before, Chinese food, salads, pizza, sandwiches, great to deliver. Dinners,
limited menu. Sandwiches only. Salads. I mean, you got to do something.
You call up a restaurant, man, you want what you like there.
Yeah, but you just tell them it's a limited menu.
I know, but I want what I want when I want it. Remember I told you on Martini Mondays we don't garnish. We don't put the graham cracker crust on the rim and then put whipped cream and all that because it's a $5 martini. When you're making like 100 martinis in 5-10 minutes, you don't want to spend all the time garnishing the glass. It's not going to be a work of art. It's going to be a martini.
So they
and
get
then the
what
people
they
go,
get.
and someone says, and the people know. I've actually had someone say, I want what I want when I want it. And it was shameless. It's like, this is what I want. Like that.
What'd you
I
tell
don't
them?
care. I'm a fucking asshole. Well, I told them no.
There you
But they
go.
told them no, but they made me make it.
Oh, okay, weenie head. Well, that's your fault. You should have just said, okay, but that's a $15 martini.
No,
I'll be right with
wasn't
you.
that wasn't me or my job.
Nah.
No, I mean I would. Well, I know, but I got to make money for my family. If they were going to fire me over the martini because the owner wanted me to make it, then
Did the owner tell you got to?
yeah, that's what. Well, I mean,
That's a little bit different when the owner
that's what I
tells you
meant.
got to make it.
I had to make it. Oh, this is the only. Hey, that's the only. There's only one person that I listened to when I.
But if some douche canoe comes in and says, "I want top shelf and I want
Well,
you to,"
so
I
you know
want,
what?
I want
if
a
someone
$25
cried,
martini for $5.
if they said it like that, I absolutely would not make it. If they said it like that, I absolutely wouldn't make it. But if they cry, I'm giving it away. If they cry or get upset and stuff like that, I'll make it. And yeah, that's my being me. Well, I don't know if that's me being it's me being weak. But yeah, and then if it's my job, I say no, I won't make it for them.
Well, it is different. If the boss lady says,
no,
"Hey,
they
you got to
wanted
do it,"
me-
you got to
They
do
wanted
it.
made it. She made it. She wanted me to make it.
That's
that
different.
night.
Then you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I didn't want to do it. I so didn't want to do it at the thing because I go, because how can I refuse anybody else? And then why did I have to wait?
Too bad I wasn't
Why did I
there
have to
that
wait
night.
12 minutes for my martini?
Hey, man.
But now I want a sugar rim on this. I want a sugar rim on this. I want fucking this. I want fucking
You're
this.
lucky I wasn't there that night because I'd have said, "Oh, if that's the case,
What?
I want top shelf. I want this. I want that for my $5
People
martini."
came in. People did come in for that. The $5 martini night, and they asked for Bombay Sapphire, and they go, the glass is 7-ounce glass, and that's in the retail, a regular retail amount of liquor that goes into it is almost $7. So, I mean, the $5 martini we're still making money on it, but we're not making money like you do when on a regular night. Alcohol is the thing you really make your money on. That's why it costs so much. There's so much liability, the insurance and responsibility. No one's going to go out and kill somebody because they had a chicken parm that wasn't made to their liking, right? But if someone goes and gets in an accident and stuff like that, then you got to pay for them.
Not to mention that top shelf liquor costs more money, and a martini is predominantly.
Well, you still make a shitload of it, stuff like that. In New York and stuff like that, when they charge, what's a martini? What's a cheap martini in New York?
Okay,
20,
forget
20
New York. How about the Satai Hotel on Miami Beach?
How much?
$100 martinis. Of course, you're in a 5-star establishment and you're buying a martini, and they have those big martini glasses, but they're $100. You can get other martinis for $75, but you get it's about 3 regular martini glasses, but it ain't no damn $100. You're not getting $100 worth of booze.
No,
in this
you're
thing.
not.
By
You're
no
not.
means.
There was a guy, the cook in Miami. He does steaks that are coated in gold foil, and it's $1,900 or something. It's some crazy amount of money. It could be more. It could be more than that. It could be $3,000. But it's funny. Here we are. We do the live show because we want to talk about the coronavirus and how it affects us. And if you really want to know, that you can see the news and you see all the other places are going through it, but you really don't experience it until you know somebody that is in that other place. And I know my father up in Delaware and all that stuff, but my wife was talking to her sisters. One lives in Tabanera, not that far away, not going through the same thing we are. But the other two, one's in Madrid, Spain, and the other's in Poland. And they're doing the same shit we are. The same exact stuff. It's if you see the world. I mean, imagine if we had a friend in Taipei and all this. The same shit we're going through, the same exact thing. It's just like after September 11th. People kind of commiserated with each other, with the people in New York and things like that. But this one, everyone's going through the same exact thing. They don't even have to think about commiserating because they are going through it.
Right.
They're going through the exact same thing. And that they're in Madrid, Spain, they're the president of Spain is getting pissed off that people are just going out there and infections are going through the roof. Even though, I guess the way it did it, you're talking about 50 million people, and you start out with a couple hundred infections, and all of a sudden it's up to 15,000. Right? And you go, holy shit. Now, we're going to get in a little further. We're going to ask the question, and this is why I wanted Jenna to chime in on this too. A little later on, we want to talk about, are we overreacting? And why do you think we are, or why do you think we should? But these things that we're going through together should help us work together later on and say, hey, listen, when things get bad, we really do have to work together. You got to work together on a vaccine. You know, when something comes up, the World Health Organization has to be invited in. Like when something happens with China, to get on top of it right away. And then they got to send their representatives out and say, this is how it works, this is how we're going to do it. This is the one time when it comes to an infection that spreads that a united front, United Nations, that's what they do, right?
Well, yes, it is what they do. And it's the WHO, the World Health Organization, that takes the role in epidemics and pandemics. And the rest of the world was listening to the WHO. The WHO was putting out the alarm almost immediately once it started analyzing the information out of China.
I think they were invited late into China because the Chinese were suppressing.
Compared to our CDC, they were on the front lines of putting out the warnings.
I realize, but remember,
you can blame China for holding.
I'm not
back
blaming
some of
China.
that
I'm blaming
information.
they had one physician who put out the warning that he died.
Yes,
he ended up dying. That delay cost some, and we did. I'm sure Italy is one of them. I'd hate to see. I mean, you don't know what's going on in Russia or Iran or any of those other countries. Obviously, you know, in Italy, because it's
though they've locked that country down. The major population. Milan is a ghost town. Venice is a ghost town. Florence, Rome, the population quote visiting centers. They're shut down, and it's mandatory.
Yeah.
So that country, the seventh largest economy, is locked down. I read a thing out of Russia. Putin went ahead and put the kibosh on moving around. At least in the article I read, Moscow. I don't know if that is nationwide. So that's going through Russia. Most of Europe is affected in the same way. Countries are quarantining, if not the entire country, like Italy, large portions, population centers. But, the World Health Organization was putting out that warning way before the CDC was. Our CDC is now kind of caught up.
Well, then, okay, then it would have been incumbent upon nation states such as Italy, Spain, the United States. Korea did. But our reaction here, now the next question is the way we react in the United States. Or here. Let's say what way we see it here. But the first reaction was, it's an overreaction. People, what's the big deal? There's people finally understanding numbers. No, you've talked about math before. But, the horrendous math that was going on when you hear this 2% mortality rate, and someone, I don't. I'm not laughing about the deaths. I'm laughing at people's ability to use math. 2%. That's 2 of 100. And they were doing. Someone was saying 140 million people in the United States could be infected, and said 2%. And that could be, and person said that could be 70 million dead. And I go, holy shit!
Yeah, do your math.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
But go back to that. Go back to the mortality rate.
Unless they were.
Yeah, no, that was a newscaster on MSNBC that did that. He just lost track of the numbers.
Well, it wasn't even really accurate because
by no means was it accurate
because the only way they come up with a mortality rate is after the fact, when you know exactly how many people died in a cross sampling of people large enough to be able to
do an extrapolated best guess mortality rate.
Yeah.
And
the mortality rate in the infected people that in the retirement home in Washington State was 10%. 10% in that specific group. But these a couple of the epidemiologists said, I was able to, I'm not going to repeat that word, that it was the angel of death for people with compromised immune systems,
generally,
respiratory systems,
the elderly,
people over 70.
Right.
It was the angel of death. And that kind of scared people and things like that. So the reaction here, you start seeing that people say the first one is it doesn't look good.
What's the mortality rate for the seasonal flu?
It's way under 1%.
0.1%.
Yeah.
So
1 out of 1,000.
When the WHO says and the epidemiologists say that currently, as best we can guess, now these are very these aren't just wild ass guesses. These are really good estimates. So in Italy, it was as high as 9.8. It's regional.
Yeah.
Of course, in China was 3.4.
Yep.
Washington State, as a state, 2.2.
Yep.
Globally, they gave a range, 1% to about 3%. So
the middle would be, let's say
1% is 10 times worse than the seasonal
and
flu.
2 is 20.
And 3 is 30. Now, let's just assume as this grows, it becomes like the seasonal flu. You're going to have about 10 times as many people perish to 30 times.
At the low end, yeah.
At the low end.
Yeah, 10 times, 10
but
to 30
But
times.
there's some interesting things about this particular coronavirus in the means by which it infects our system.
Yeah.
It does something that another coronavirus doesn't do, and that is it doesn't have to come out of the cell to go back in. It can go cell wall to cell wall, which means the infection rates are faster.
There are better shows to be able to describe this better than us. There are better shows than
Of course there are, but this is stuff you can read online. This is
no,
stuff
you can
get
read that.
from
There's better
the CDC
shows.
and
I
from
know.
World Health.
If someone's listening to Key's Bartender show right now, I hope they're not getting their science from us.
No, go investigate.
Your science, Joe. Your science is excellent. Your science is excellent.
You
but
have
I'm
to
talking,
go
I'm talking about
research.
feelings. Right now, we're just talking about feelings and reactions.
But that plays into my reaction. As to you asked a question
my
about panic.
idea is when people say we always talk about motivations. When people talk about motivations and stuff like that, whenever someone wants to do anything, there's the basic motivation. There's no motivation where someone other than a pharmaceutical company that has the vaccine and they don't at this time. There's no monetary motivation. There's nothing to gain for other than maybe some of these doom prepper organizations and stuff like that. I mean, and that's too big a thing to even contemplate. That's just silly. So what I'm suggesting is the reaction comes from uncertainty. And when the market fell and people went apeshit buying toilet paper, the toilet paper, because monkey see, monkey do. Just go out. They're buying toilet paper. We got to buy toilet paper. They're buying pasta. We got to buy pasta. And we did mention that in the show, the last show. We noticed, both you and I separately noticed, that when we went in looking at pasta, there's no pasta on the shelves, but there's a shitload of sauce, which has the same similar shelf life, sitting right there, right across the aisle from it, sauce. And then you go for, like, all the macaroni's gone. You go in the cheese department, and there's all this cheese, and you think, well, cheese is, and then all these the fucking meat, all the meat that people buy. It's like, we're not in the United States. We're in no danger of really running out of food for people. We had an epidemic of obesity going on here for years. For years. It's funny, no one's hoarding baked goods. They're good. I mean, it's funny, that goes in the thing, the baked goods are all just piling up. I mean, I go, the fruit, the best thing to eat if you're trying to protect yourself, the fruit. They had
there's plenty of that.
There's plenty of fruit.
And there's and on the other side,
What?
There's plenty of sodas. No one's out there like buying soft drinks. Have you noticed that? The soft drink aisle was completely full
I
in
never
both
bought the
stores.
soda. No, yeah, club soda.
Water's
we
gone.
always run out of the we like this natural brand of club soda that they make, and I know it's what a fucking weenie thing for me to say. I had a friend, but the overreaction, meaning that reaction there, baseless, pasta and toilet paper, but then the reaction of the markets totally tanking to the only similar thing to what happened over the last week was 1929. They blew past 1987 of losses. And this is almost like this is the new fucking normal. It's amazing how quickly we transition from the handshake to the fist bump, elbow, and foot check. Think about it. How culturally does things change that quickly? I mean, yeah, maybe in a season or something like that, you start seeing minute movements and stuff like that. But this social distancing thing, it's amazing. Luckily, with these microphones right here, if we did a show last week, I have to think about what I have to do maybe to disinfect it, just in case, because if you do have the coronavirus, you can, for some reason I understand, you can have it, recover, and get reinfected again.
I have no idea.
No, I mean,
I do know you can have it and not show any signs or symptoms.
Yeah, you can have. Well, if you don't show any signs, you mean it goes away. You don't. Let's say you have it.
You're
you
still
have the ability to
contagious.
spread it. You could be contagious, and then it disappears. And then you get reinfected because some things don't leave a resistance in you, just like strep.
Right.
Because how many times have you had strep?
Bunch.
Yeah, and it doesn't make you immune to it. Things like that. Just the way the body reacts to it.
Yeah, but viral does more. The viruses change. They don't stay the same.
Yeah.
They mutate.
Yeah.
And,
But an epidemiologist explained it this way, Jenna. She on the Bill Maher show. She said there's some things your body can get used to, and it amps up for it. And
you'll get the flu. You'll get the flu a couple of times.
well,
in several
flu
years.
changes.
They all change.
Flu
So
changes.
what you said
But
about
the common
this,
cold doesn't necessarily.
what you said about this doesn't shock me at all. Of course, why would I think that if I got through coronavirus that I was suddenly immune to it? Yeah, but that exact strain is not going to stay
Well, no,
the
they didn't say
exact
the exact
strain.
strain. You can be reinfected by it.
N1, you would usually build up the antibodies to not get H1N1 yet. You might get H1N2.
Well, you should be on the microphone if you want to mention that. Come on over here.
Same thing as chickenpox.
Yeah. Okay.
You can get it again, is what you're saying.
Yeah, you can get it again.
I don't
and
doubt
it's just
it.
like that. And it's different. It's different, and we have to react to it differently. I mean, today at Family Dollar, Told you about the guy showing up buying 3 pallets worth of toilet paper.
Yeah, that was genius.
Just hoarding. People taking their kids. As of a week ago, they go and it's Tuesday. On Friday, people are taking their kids on ski trips out west, and they closed the ski slopes in Colorado and Utah. Did they not think this was going to happen that way? So we have friends who took their daughter and their daughter's friends, who happens to be friends of my daughter, on the ski trip, and they ended up going to Colorado, and then they went to Utah, and then they ended up going to Arizona.
Well, listen, I travel for a living. I fly to different cities in the United States, and we've already made contingency plans that in the middle of a trip, if there's domestic flight shutdowns, that we're going to have to rent a car and drive from city to city and back home.
Yeah.
So you have to make, my job requires me to travel. So you got to make contingency plans.
Well, that's you. I'm talking about if you're taking someone's family
on vacation,
and stuff like that. If that might,
now,
I'm not saying
now might not be the time to do that.
I'm going to send my kid with somebody to go where it's uncertain what's going to happen, and uncertain how people are going to react, and uncertain how they're going to decide how they're going to handle air transport, like how air travel, whether they're going to, they say, well, okay, we're going to shut that down. You're going to have to come by vehicle. I mean, it's like, fuck no, you're staying home. You're going to wait. You're going to, are you that, I mean, I understand is it adventurous or careless with young children? You decide that you're going to go to an amusement park or a carnival. And if you know enough that, oh, yeah, well, this is really contagious, and it really doesn't affect the kids as much. But, every so often, you hear about someone getting it.
Why would you want to expose them to it?
Yeah.
Though?
Why would you risk it?
I think today we would say it was careless.
Yeah. I mean, why would you risk it?
A week ago, we may have said, yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah. Well, yesterday, or 2 days ago, I'm doing my spin class. It's on a Sunday. And things are moving quickly. Moving. And people go, well, it's 18 people in a Sunday class at 9 a.m. I'm going, what the hell's going on here? And people are going, well, we don't know what's going to happen, so we want to go to spin class. And I say, this is the place they're going to close down. They're going to close the gym down. And you rush to the gym to do it. But I don't mind. I mean, I figure I'm in the restaurant business.
Right. Well,
you're not in the restaurant business. And you rush to get with a bunch of people go sweating in a small enclosed room, okay? And so I said, well, if you really want to go tomorrow, we got the class, and you know what? No one showed. We got like 13 people show up for the Monday class, and that's yesterday. We don't know anything about it. I talked to one of my fellow instructors. I said, I bet by noon this is closed down.
They did, didn't they?
Not by noon. They closed it down at 2 p.m.
Well, you were close.
I know. I think that's when I got called. I wonder when they made the decision. It's $1 bet, but, that's...
Well, then the governor of Florida did that yesterday, or was it today? It was today.
Well, they started, in Miami, did the restrictions on restaurants, 50% of capacity. And today, right before noon, DeSantis, I think a couple of the places, yesterday, Monroe County and Key West imposed state of emergency. Florida had that already. But it makes, once you declare a state of emergency, allows you to do things to order the shutting down. It's like putting the cart before the horse. I have to declare a state of emergency, so they have the ability to compel people to shut down. Because without the state of emergency, you have to show cause, like a public health risk, a specific cause. We have to shut down that restaurant because they're not up to code. But under a state of emergency, you can make a blanket statement, close all bars, all clubs, except restaurants, in which I spoke to the owner of the place I work in, the Catch Restaurant in Key Largo, 102, and we'll be open and be practicing the good hygiene habits of putting people in the proper
Spacing.
I guess, 6 feet away. So we have that, but that happened in 48 hours, and the gym and all that, and the schools. As of last week, they said it was Saturday. Was it Saturday? Extra week. They found it just a day after they closed for spring break. My daughter's school. They said it's going to be gone the extra week. And now they're saying, people are just speculating to go, well, it's pretty much, they're not going to reopen. They're going to try to do an online thing. And I started talking to my daughter about that, and she's in the super eye roll mode. Right?
Yeah.
You can't talk to her about it. And she goes, well, no, the spring break was extended. I said, it wasn't extended. The school is not opening. And she goes, my mom said, I said, your mom, English is her second language. Do not get the news from your mom. You follow your mom's rules, but I'll interpret your mom. But you have to listen. You have to listen to the spirit of it. And I sat her down today, and she didn't like this. I said, Monday is school's starting again. She goes, oh, they're not set up for it. And go, it doesn't matter if they're not set up for it. We're going to start doing it. We're going to have a lesson plan. We're going to start, if it takes a week from them to do it, we'll have a week's worth of stuff to do. I don't care if it's not the right stuff. Just get in the mood. You're going to do 3 to 4 hours of schoolwork a day. I think that's pretty much accurate when you're in the classroom, considering all the other stuff in the breaks.
Yeah,
and all that.
probably. That's more than enough.
3 to 4 hours. And she goes, I just don't want to learn it from you. And I go, which is good. I'm going to teach her one of the habits. Anytime you hear something bad the kid does, they're racist or something like that. They said, where'd you learn that? And they said, I learned it from you, Daddy.
Yeah. Well,
no, I'm not a racist, though. But as of the moment, one of the big mistakes I think they may have made is that they're still pushing that half measures about leaving the keys open. Right? The purpose is that. Now, if they find out later that sunlight is the best disinfectant and that people are outside, you got the kids out here on the boat going, well, actually,
yeah, but Jim, if they put the order out to close the keys, if you thought the panic is high now, wait till after that order comes out. The anxiety is going to go through the roof. If it's not through the roof already, it goes much higher. So let me give you an example.
What do you mean, the people that live here or the people that want to be
Everyone. Everyone. So the Fed reduced the interest rates
to zero.
What was the market's reaction to what should have been good news?
Dropped 2,400 points.
One of the largest losses ever.
Since 1929.
So you would think it's counterintuitive, right? I mean, you drop the interest rates, it's because people are foreshadowing that things are worse than they are, that they had to drop the interest.
I think
it's the uncertainty.
I think we're moving to a place in time where, just like after 9/11, that happened really fast, how people handled things. Remember with the anthrax thing and all that, and people started thinking about their heads may shift slowly, but when we move as a people, it moves as one. I think that eventually people with this, shitting themselves about the market, you may have a tax. If you pull out a market, some of these people with 401ks, there's a 15 to 20 something % penalty. And to take that loss and that penalty at the same time it's huge. That's huge. And I think we've reached a point where people are expecting change, hardship, just like World War II.
I think what they're
World War
expecting,
II.
Jim,
World War II
is martial law. I
know.
think if you ask people, do you think martial law is far around the corner, they'll probably say probably not.
But think of the lead up to World War II. Like, I'm going to equate this to World War II. Germany starts acting up, doing all this stuff over there, and thinking, wow, they're making a lot of land grabs and stuff like that. Boom, boom, boom. Czechoslovakia, moving in back into the Sudetenland. Well, that was Sudetenland in Czechoslovakia. And
Poland.
No, Sudetenland was in the Czech Republic. Poland was the Russian German thing. That was the precursor.
The pact,
was the war. That was the war. That we call that the phony war. When the French, they were just waiting, but it was 1 month where Germany and Soviet Union. But before that, Germany's making all these movements, and then people are thinking, "Oh, it's getting bad." America's not even involved in that. They're talking about we're not going to get involved in it again. A couple of years before, the British, the Oxford Union, I think it said, we will not give our lives for king and country again because of the loss of life in World War One. So then more happens, and people their heads start rolling. They start thinking about it. Oh, it's getting worse and worse. And then he does all these things. The British Prime Minister tries to placate him, and he does this shit, and then they invade Poland. Fuck it, it's over. It's over. The French know and the British know they're in it, and Americans still aren't in it. They think you stay out of it, and then we stayed out of it for almost 2 years or a year and a half. And the Japanese are doing their things in the Pacific, and the British are holding off the French. They lost, and the British are holding off the Germans. When the Germans couldn't get in there, then they getting into Britain. They decided to attack the Soviet Union, and then the U.S. thinking, boy, they're thinking that maybe we can stay out of, maybe stay in it, and they're still getting pressure from the Japanese. And then finally, it was over. That was enough. And you say, well, we weren't ready to do it. We weren't ready to do anything. We were still coming out of the Depression. Private companies did not want to manufacture. They were just coming out of it. They wanted to keep on making commercial goods because they were just coming out of the Depression. They said, we don't want to make tanks. We're going to make vehicles and stuff like that. We can't, because that's not part of our long-term plan. And then they forced them to do it. The government does, yes, martial law does work, some implemented it the right way when they twisted arms. And they made all these planes and tanks and ships and all this stuff. U.S. got into that movement of making weapons, going to war, moving forward, and then onward to victory. But for a couple months there, it looked like they weren't going to win.
So what you're saying is we're in that couple of month phase.
We're moving forward. We're moving forward. They're going to say what works, what doesn't work, and if it doesn't work, they're going to have to keep on. They're going to have to make a stronger commitment. One case in point. A very, let's say, an administration that only gave big giveaways recently to the wealthiest people is proposing a $1 trillion recovery plan, and one of them is to put $1,000 checks in the people's hands immediately, and trying to get it through Congress and stuff like that. Whether it's a good plan or not, I don't know. Some people think, oh, $1,000, yes, I'm in for it. Like, hey, shit, if this goes on for 3-4 months, $1,000 isn't going to do shit for anybody. It'll maybe boost the economy shortly and stuff like that. But if these companies aren't thriving, these small companies fail, the $1,000 won't be just a drop in the
What
bucket.
about your mortgage rate and your insurance?
There's
Still got to make your mortgage, and you still.
They're talking about
insurance.
doing some kind of pause there or something like that. There's suggestions. There's suggestions for that, and student loan suggestions. But you've seen how fast they move with other things, and they did this. Remember back in 2009, when the banks were failing. And the auto industry, remember, they came They had to prop them all up.
Yeah, absolutely.
They moved in quick because they saw. We didn't understand. Everyone doesn't understand necessarily what would have happened if all the banks failed, the biggest banks failed. And they stopped allowing businesses to lend to each other and borrow from the banks and get their operating capital, have access to operating capital. We didn't fully understand that, but some people fully understood that, and they sounded the alarm, much like the people at the WHO, saying, yes, there may only be, how many people dead right now?
What's
10,000?
Is it around 10,000?
10,000. There may be only 10,000. Maybe, yeah, and the flu kills 600,000 a year. But listen, this could kill 6 to 20 million, 6 to 30 million people. That's what's scaring people. That's having them act. And in Italy right now, they have to decide whether they have a certain amount of ventilators and stuff like that for people, and they have to decide whether to let older people, whether they're going to die or not. Did you hear about that?
Yes.
They're going to say, "Hey, listen, they're not. They're going to give them a triage, like they did in the war. They go, and this person has a 5% likelihood of being saved. This person has a 60% likelihood of being saved. They're going to take that 60% person first. That 5% person will leave off to the side because you could save 6 of these guys and spend all your time with the one person that may not even survive. So that's what they do. That's how we make the decisions right now. It's a hard one, and people are really kind of to make light of the decision of this illness, but I bet their attitude changes if someone close to them gets sick, and it really changes when they die. Because there's small diseases that kill loved ones, and it takes a forefront in your life. You know what I mean? When someone dies of something like Lou Gehrig disease, someone dies of Lou Gehrig disease, and your grandparent, you're not thinking of Hodgkin's or anything like that. You're thinking of Lou Gehrig's disease. They took my grandfather away. That's where you focus on.
Yeah.
This will be this thing. But do you have anything to add to that? I'm sorry.
No, it's just we started talking about the panic and whether things were certain warranted at this point in time. I think the outlooks are severe enough. I would just encourage everyone, instead of listening to the hype and stuff it tends to be a little more emotionally expressed in the news media, go to your source material at the WHO and at the CDC. Listen to the experts and how they portray the statistical information for consumption. Be calm. What's going to happen is going to happen, and you're just going to have to adjust to the new normal as these things change. The hope is that the vaccine comes out. It's been fast-tracked. They just started today with a test vaccine.
They were talking to some woman on CNN who's one of the
right. So they started a test vaccine, a trial vaccine.
Test subjects.
So the testing's already begun. It's all been fast-tracked. That's all good news. And I feel sorry for anti-vaxxers. Hopefully there's none left by the time this is done. But with a vaccine, hopefully that vaccine can be put out as quickly as possible, and the worst doesn't happen. But the potentiality for this being bad still exists. And it's something that we have to think about as we approach tomorrow.
Yep. But it's funny. On a lighter note, Jenna's neighbors came in. There's a bunch of
the party
guys that look like they're in college and girls that look like they're in middle school. They're
drinking.
They're drinking. They're drinking, having a good time here.
You're sitting in a patrol car right now.
Yeah, you know what? Yep, got a bunch of 15, 16, 17-year-olds on a boat. But, we're not going to do anything about that. But we're going to post a picture of it. We'll post a picture. I'll put it on this thing, even though it's it has very little to do with COVID-19 effects on.
It has everything
Key
to
Largo.
do. Look at them. They're all standing very close to each other.
They're not practicing social distancing.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're not
Yeah.
practicing social. I think tonight.
Two of them are actually having intercourse.
I don't
Oh.
think anybody. I don't even think they're going to be practicing any safe sex.
No,
either.
there's no. Probably
There's no
not.
protected sex. There's not going to be anything like that. And I think if I was the owner of that house, I would definitely want the sheets to be washed tomorrow.
I hope he has a big insurance policy.
Yep. There's like 25 kids over there, it looks like.
What a
At Tubo.
disaster.
Yep. Okay, well, this is Jim. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. There's literally tens and tens of people. Thank you, Papa Joe.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Damon. We'll be back next week. Signing off.